Shocking new Star Trek spinoff. Shocking. Shocking. Now what have I been saying about the Star Trek spinoff, continuation, reboot, whatever you want to call it, the Star Trek Picard show, that is going to be a very different Star Trek. His own words. It's going to be a very different Star Trek. It is not the Star Trek you know. This is not the Captain Picard that you know. He's a different person. This is exactly what Mark Hamill was saying when he was talking about he had to play Jake Skywalker in his mind because the character was so different than what he expected as an actor. Right? So keep that in mind when going in and thinking about and seeing this. And I know, I get it. I'm a huge Star Trek fan too. And hello everyone, my name is Mecha42, your favorite YouTube harpy. Going back to my first love on this channel since I changed it over, Star Trek. Right? And I get it. I want to love this so bad. You have no idea how much this is hard. It breaks my heart to find a Star Trek series I want to warn people away from. I want to be, hey, you remember Star Wars. Remember Star Wars. Remember 2 years ago, right before The Last Jedi came out. Remember when Mark Hamill went on Twitter saying all the exact same stuff that Captain Picard, Patrick Stewart, is saying. To try and let people know this is not going to be the same Star Trek that we know. This is going to be a mix of, and I heard this from the showrunners, from the producers, right from their mouths, in person at Star Trek Las Vegas. This is a cross between Discovery and TNG, and Discovery is not something you can cross with anything. It's really its own microcosm of crap. It is its own, it's its own little freak show of nothing. It doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical verbal diarrhea at this point. Like the plots aren't interesting or entertaining. They don't teach any moral lessons. The main character is practically perfect in every way, despite being the biggest screw up ever. Everybody walks around telling her how wonderful she is. And it's not a show about discovering, or it's not a show about, you don't even see the ship until the 3rd episode of Discovery, named after the ship, right? You don't even see the ship. That you don't know how big it is. It's big enough to fly starships inside of, or at least worker bees. You can fly little shuttles around inside of it like it's a TARDIS. They don't know what the crap they're doing on Discovery. So much to the point where real writers like Walter Mosley just walk out and they don't even bother calling him. Yeah, they had Walter Mosley over on Discovery, and it's being run by the same group of people, the same little clique of people like Alex Kurtzman. And yes, you got Michael Chabon show running this, but he's no different than Michael Kurtzman. Or Alex Kurtzman, rather. Did I say Michael Kurtzman? Alex Kurtzman. You're getting me so mad I'm forgetting names with this one. But let's read this. Sir Patric Stewart made an unexpected visit to the University of Huddersfield a week after the end of filming his new Star Trek spin-off series. So, Muirfield-born Sir Patrick, now Emeritus Chancellor at the University, I can't say any of these words, is making a return to the small screen as former Star Trek captain Jean-Luc Picard. The Hollywood star, a previous chancellor, was given the tour of a new $30 million Barbara Hepworth building, home to the University School of Art, Design and Architecture, and over 2,000 students. Sir Patrick returned to the UK after filming Picard in the United States and rang up the university saying he was just passing and wanted to pop in. Well, that's sweet. Sir Patrick was impressed by the facilities, and this goes on and on. None of this has anything to do with it. So this is what is important to this article. During his visit, Sir Patrick spoke about the return of the role of Picard, captain of the Enterprise in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Sir Patrick, now 79, said, "I don't regret it as going back. In fact, we're definitely moving the series forward, and that's what made the difference for me." So he's not revisiting the character. It's not going to be any retread. It's not going to be the same Star Trek. Right? He's said this time and time again, and I have countless videos. Just if you see the playlists, in this playlist section, I have countless videos on the Picard series from its inception. And every warning sign that we've gotten about this series. And God, I want good Star Trek. I really, really do. Don't take me as just a hater. I would love for nothing more than to have that same, like, oh my God, there's a new Star Trek episode. That's what I get with the Orville. I get that, oh my God, we got a new Orville this week with Star Trek. I'm like, I don't want to be heartbroken over this. I don't want this to ruin my memory of Star Trek. The way The Last Jedi ruined Star Wars for so many of us. And the producers and showrunners are doing the exact same thing. They're calling us all a bunch of ists and everything else. And I'll get to that in a second on this video, too. This is going to be a little bit longer video, I think. He says, it was a very difficult decision. He turned down the role twice. I remember he did turn down the role twice. He was eventually persuaded when the producers explained in detail how they were going to progress the series and that it would be a vastly different world for the former Starship captain and far from a walk down memory lane. The new series would be to and I know some change can be a good thing, right? If we get a natural progression of the character, sure. This show is all about some mystery chick and remember berries of, hey, remember 7 and 9, remember the Borg. So it's going to be her show. It's going to be this teenage girl. Oh, she's the key to everything. He's going to be a side character in his own show, and he's probably going to be degraded just as Luke Skywalker was. This is a lot of, hey, remember this. Hey, remember Data? Remember 7 of 9? 7 of 9's in more than one episode. Hey, Data's only in one episode, though, so he's there to launch it. We know, we got it. So the new series to be broadcast on CBS All Access is set 20 years after the last moment of Next Generation, which is fine. That's fine. That they could do that. Well, this doesn't look good though. This looks, people have pointed out that the poster looks like a rap album. This is an action adventure show with an 80-year-old man. That's what this is. This is Vulcans dressed as elves beating up Borg, I think, in corridors with staffs. Like what is this? This is supposed to be they're long-haired Vulcans that look like elves from Lord of the freaking Rings is what they have now. We are looking at a new world with new objectives, problems, and issues that could have not been raised when we were making the Next Generation. And I found that very exciting. What do you mean they couldn't have been raised? This was a show about progressive, diverse topics, right? It was a show where Riker, we were talking about this on the Minutes Edge After Dark podcast. Riker ended up falling in love with an androgynous person from a planet where they didn't have gender. What can they possibly be talking about that they couldn't do? Oh, they couldn't bash white people back then. They couldn't tell us how half of the people are ist or are alt-right or whatever they are making up or are, Guess what, Star Trek? If we were all a bunch of racists, we would not be watching Star Trek. It has always been diverse. It has always been progressive. Bite me, you're wrong. You just don't know how to admit that you failed. And so you have to push this narrative that we're all this socially acceptable, group to hate. And that's what it is. It is a show that is a movement in Star Trek now that is promoting this age of anti-humans, anti certain groups of society. But here's the thing. People who they're lumping into this group aren't even qualified. They don't even qualify for that group, right? They aren't part of that. If you're a Star Trek fan, you're not anti people of all walks of life and colors of the rainbow. You're just not. That's never been a thing that I've ever seen any Star Trek fan. And you might have some ignorant comments. And then people will watch Star Trek and be like, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. And people grow and learn from their stuff, right? They learn from mistakes. Not in today's culture where they go and find 20-year-old things that people have said or done to cancel them today. You're holding people to a different standard. They're going after William Shatner. People who are fans of this new Star Trek go after William Shatner for being of the age group where this stuff was acceptable back then, where the civil rights movement happened, and it was acceptable to hate a certain group of people, and it's disgusting that it was, and I hate that it was. And he was getting death threats for kissing Uhura on screen, like actual legit ones. Right? Okay, but no, he represents that time, even though he has nothing to do with that time. And this is what modern Star Trek is. Now back to the article. We're looking at a world with new objectives, problems, and issues that could not have been raised when we were making the Next Generation, and I found that very exciting, said Sir Patric, who viewed the first 3 episodes. It's very exciting, and people will be surprised and perhaps even shocked. See, the word shocked is not what I want in Star Trek. I want to have a contemplative, interesting thing. I want to be entertained. I don't want you to shock me about how much you changed Star Trek. Right? I don't want Captain Picard throwing around F-bombs like Tilly does. Nor do I want the little meme Trek that we've got now.
I like science.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want I like science. We don't want meme Trek. We want real Star Trek. We don't want Star Trek in 30-second bursts. But no. And like I said, this is going to be a slightly longer video because there's a little bit more. Screen Rant seems to think that Picard can unite Star Trek's divided fandom. Well, you know what? Star Trek has a divided fandom because you have people like Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise and Michael Chabon who don't want a certain demographic of people that they feel are not worthy of Star Trek watching Star Trek. And they're gatekeeping this series and lumping everybody into this, you're alt-right, you're this or that. And this is right here in the article. This is absolutely right here in this article. Nearly 50% of the backlash was really political trolling. No, it's not. Fans rejecting the concept of diversity. Well, this is talking about Star Wars here, but they think, bite me. Star Wars, Star Trek, they're about aliens. Aliens. They're about aliens. Dude, we don't care about the stupid little superficial stuff that people can't change and can't help. Like, you know, we don't look down on people for that. Like other people that I do see on social media who look down on people who happen to look like me, or at least my shade, right? They don't like anybody who was born this way, which actually is ist. They're just too stupid to understand that. And they think the same thing about Star Trek fans. They don't understand that Star Trek fans were never part of that. You know, Star Trek fans were always progressive and intelligent. And Star Trek was always something that people could still see something in, even if they weren't, you know, even if it's like a 7-year-old kid who might not understand some of the higher concepts there, they could at least say, hey, Data's cool and he's got a cat, right? Or they could say, like if they were me, I really like the idea that humans probably shouldn't be out there exploring space and that there might be some higher intelligent aliens that might, I don't know, test them. But that's just me at 7, and I don't know, a lot of you guys probably were like that too. Not too dumb for Star Trek. You're on my channel, of course you're not too dumb for Star Trek. And you're not a bunch of ists, because you're here, because you're smart people and you know this. Compared to Star Wars, the Star Trek fandom is fairly pedestrian and well-behaved, which makes sense, the concept of diversity, so you're acknowledging this. But they're still going after Star Wars fans. For all that's the case, though, the Star Trek fandom has its own divisions, and Star Trek Picard could well be the solution. Yeah, it was, oh gee, when Bad Robot came in, it got divided. Yeah, because they changed canon, they changed what Star Trek was about, and they changed the focus of it. It went from being this really intellectual and sometimes corny and sometimes fun action-adventure space romp to, that's all it is action, adventure, space romp. Continuity doesn't matter. And you know the meme of William Shatner saying, hey, get a life. You nerds, you bunch of nerds. The skit, because it's parody. No, we're actually like that. We do study in detail ship schematics. You know, we can tell you how fast warp speed actually is if you calculate it versus from the original series versus Next Generation and Voyager, because it's changed. Right, we can tell you that because we know details and we care and we're passionate about this. And this is fascinating because you gave us something to study and be passionate about. You're not just giving us some background stuff with a bunch of flashing lights and loud sounds that we're supposed to look up at our phone. And that was when the big division happened, wasn't it? When they started doing that. And it's fine if you guys like the new Star Trek stuff. I'm not saying that you know, it's that you're not welcome here, but this is my stance on it, right? This is my stance on it, is that we have a clear divide of quality and of style and of substance. And we also have, at the same time, the producers of the show, the actors on the show, coming after the fan base for this imagined ist that they think we all are. When that's not exactly the case. Now, is it Alex Kurtzman? The problem began with JJ's reboot. It absolutely was. Star Trek Discovery proved just as divisive as the Abrams reboot. Unlike the Abrams films, it purported to be part of the main timeline, which meant its grim, dark portrayal of the Federation left a lot of fans furious. Yeah, it wasn't. It was not part of the main timeline. It completely changed. We have what that looked like at this point in time. You know, they've had the retcons and occlusion. Actually, they're not really retcons. They're more explanations of why the Klingons looked different. Not these Klingons, but, you know, from TOS to TNG, those Klingons. They looked very different, and I liked how they explained that. They have given us no explanation. Oh, no, this is just how they are now. Oh, they're blonde because they shave their head, no, or they're bald because they shave their heads. That is not an explanation to me. That is lazy. Yeah, that's lazy and not paying attention, and that's just trying to pass it off as you know what you're talking about when you don't. It's like, no, not only did you change the hair, and they have none, you changed the entire skull structure, size, shape of their faces, the way the forehead ridges looked and protruded, how much space they took up on the head. You changed the noses, you changed everything about them to where they don't even look Klingon anymore. Back to the article. We're still technology in Star Trek Discovery Season 1 seems so much more advanced than anything else. Centuries later, exactly. It was crap. It was garbage. They just stopped paying attention. Right? They didn't look at what we already had. They made it 10 years before TOS. And they yelled at us and had the nerve to insult us to our face that we didn't like it or complained. We're Star Trek fans. What did you expect? We're gonna complain that the continuity isn't there. Didn't you watch the fucking clip of William Shatner calling us out? Like, that's based in fact. We do these things. We're nerds. And it's okay to do that. I do that all the time. I do that with Stargate. I can tell you know, how long a Stargate stays open. No, I don't want it. Because we're not talking about Stargate. So what is it, 38 minutes? 33? I used to be able to. Now take away my nerd card. I forgot. It's 30-something. Now I gotta look it up. Point is, we're those. Yeah, I know. When I pull a fact out of my ass, I should actually remember it. Still, this because I get so mad at this stuff. Like, there's people. You're gonna correct me on that. And that's okay this time. Normally I don't like being corrected, but that's okay this time because you're nerds, and damn it, we're proud if we know how long the Stargate stays open, right? and none of this in the case of a black hole stuff, because we already know it stays open a lot longer in the case of a black hole and it dilates time, because nerds talk about that. And I love that we talk about it. I'm going off on a tangent here. Yes, still, Star Trek Discovery Season 2 was a success. Was it? Where are the numbers? Please release some numbers, because you're just saying that. Like, I could write an article and say it was a steaming pile of shit. And I have just as much data. Only wait, I have the episodes, and I have my reactions to the episodes. Oh yeah, that they've copyright blocked. Like, complete flat out blocked. It continues, pivoting away from the human-Klingon war, going to great lengths to write its continuity-challenged advanced tech out. No, it wasn't great lengths. It was a throwaway line of, oh, my grandfather still uses a view screen, or my grandmother still uses a view screen. Another insult to the fans. Star Trek Discovery writers. Breaking another writing crop on them. The fandom remains divided, but the wounds feel as though they're beginning to heal. No, they're not. We were just as divided, and the casts are divided now because you have these new knucklehead cast members like Wilson Cruz and Jason Isaacs and Anthony Rapp and Mary Chieffo telling us how progressive they are as opposed to everybody else, trying to make us feel bad, right? Trying to call us out on something that we didn't do. Trying to make themselves look like they're better than us because they're all of a sudden progressive. No. We were always progressive. We're Star Trek. You need to be better than that. You need to hold yourself up to the standard of our Trek. Because, damn it, your standards are filled with this exclusive hatred of your fan base. And that is not Starfleet. You know what? I think I'm done with this article. If you want to read it, it's on Screen Rant. It came out today, but no. Star Trek is not going to unite the fans, or at least Picard isn't, because how could it? I am Mecha42. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell thingy, unclick it and re-click it. There's different levels of bells. Bells for days. I will see you guys on the next video or live stream. Bye! Thanks for watching! If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!